Pledge of Allegiance to start. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the Republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with
liberty,
justice for all. Thanks everybody for joining us. Happy holidays. I hoped last meeting we'd be doing this in person, but I think it's probably going to be a while before we can even hope to do that. The first order of business is to clean up the minutes from last time. Hopefully everybody had a chance to take a look at the minutes, and I'll take a motion for approval. Motion to approve. And I heard a second in there too. All in favor of approving? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, the minutes have been approved from the October meeting. Next, we'll move on to Tammy with the programming update.
Sure. I was going to show you guys my screen, but I guess that was a big flop. So I'll just email to you what I was going to show you. Anyways, I wanted to start by working backwards and talking about Santa's delivery. Bill, I know you're on here, but I can't see you because for some reason I'm not even in a mode where I can see everybody. So let me just jump to my gallery.
I'm the good-looking one.
There you are. I found you. This guy totally rocked it on Sunday. He was absolutely amazing. And Claire, serving as the elf there, we had a great time. It was a lot of work. Great. Bill, I don't know how you did it on and off the engine. You know,
my thighs are still sore.
30 sometimes. I'll bet they are.
You know that when you've skied all afternoon and you can't move your legs? That's how I feel.
It was quite a day, but great job to you. I had a really funny picture that I wanted to show you guys. I'll make sure it's in the file that I sent to you later, but it's basically you're dressing Chuck Madden from behind, and then James DeVita, our public works guy, is dressing you from behind, and they just look so cute, the three of them there together getting ready. It's absolutely hilarious.
It was fun. It was funny. Yeah.
It was great, and thank you guys again. And Sean, thank you so much for being there and helping out on Zone 4 too, which is our biggest zone. It was a really successful day. We had tons of feedback coming in from residents through emails and voicemails, and people were overall really excited about the event. Just statistically, we actually had almost a 15% increase this year, amazingly, during the pandemic. So we went from 551 households last year to 625 households, plus we had a lot of people, of course, giving us gifts and adding gifts on throughout the night. I think there were a few there on our route where a mom and a dad came out and had them stuffed in their shirt and down their pants and all kinds of crazy places. Hopefully you didn't touch any of that, but so it was a lot of fun, and amazing that we were able to pull it off, you know, given the circumstances. And then we debuted a new contribution program as part of Santa's delivery too. So for many years we were doing the Toys for Tots program where toys were donated and they were given, you know, throughout the region. But this year we formed partnerships with the Radnor Township Civic Association, the Women's Resource Center, and the Wayne Senior Center, so that contributions could be made for household items. The toys, of course, we had a turkey drop off back in late November or mid-November. And then we also had an opportunity for things like jigsaw puzzles and brain games and puzzle books and things like that for the Wayne Senior Center. So lots of donations were made, and those are programs that are continuing to go on throughout the next few weeks. So all in all, great success. We can't speak highly enough about the event and how excited we were to pull it off. We also had the Garrett Hill tree lighting. That took place on November 29th, and it was a huge success. I think we probably had at least 30 to 40 people who came. They all stood at a distance. Everybody had their masks. You could identify all the families that were together, kind of standing off on their own, but you know, there to savor the event, of course, nonetheless. And All Seasons Produce and Flowers once again donated a lovely tree, which if you're up in Garrett Hill, you have a chance, take a look as you drive by. The sign is there that says Happy Holidays. All the lights and everything are up too, so everything looks really great. But we had another successful Garrett Hill tree lighting. And again, amidst the pandemic, so excited that we were able to have that and pull that off. Looking back to October, we had our, because I don't think we met. I think we met in, we didn't meet in November, so
Right.
we met in early October. So we had the Willows Spooktacular Park and Trail Scavenger Hunt, which was an amazing day where there were two components of this event, where one was families could come and they could hike the Willows Trail, and they could search for different types of Halloween related decorations, such as like ghosts and cobwebs and spiders and things like that, all throughout the park, throughout the trail rather. And then on another component of the park, we had a maze that we had set up where folks could go through the maze, and before they made certain turns to kind of get through the maze, they had to answer quirky questions about Halloween and things like that. And once again, a huge success. We had sign up times where people came in increments, so we didn't have a barrage of people all at once. So it was safe, it was well orchestrated, and we had over 280 people participate throughout the early morning to midday. I know Sean was out there with his kids as well, and hopefully you guys had a good time. Fun event. So we were excited with that. We also did we had a virtual Halloween costume contest and a pumpkin carving contest. So we had some awards and many participants that took part in that. We also, later in October, after we had last met, we had the Pickleball Tournament with 24 folks that participated. We had 12 teams. Lizette and I ended up playing just so we could round off and even out the numbers to play, but we definitely got our butts whooped because we lost 2 straight games playing and didn't advance or do anything, which was good anyways. We certainly wouldn't want to take a spot away from a resident, but we had a winner that we crowned with some trophies at the end of the event, and it was really exciting. Folks had a good time. So I really can't speak enough about the fall and the winter and the success that we've had. Even looking at some of the programs that we offered, things really had unprecedented success. Our Soccer Shots program this year had over 200 folks that participated from September to November, which was really amazing. It's a popular program for us anyways, but just much higher numbers. We had a dance team for the first time that was really popular. We had 17 girls, and they were out on the green blacktop surface that's over at Connor Park. Tremendous success. In mid-October, we got the rack opened and up and running. Initially, it served as a backup facility for folks that wanted to come indoors if we had programs that, were just, a little too cold or too rainy outside to come indoors. We really ended up not using it too much for that, but it allowed our men's basketball program to get up and running. Radnor Youth Basketball got up and running. And we've had like 11 rentals since mid-October and now that are continuing to go. Initially we were operating under what the state's recommendation, or I should say requirement, was for indoor occupancy, which was initially at 20% of the total occupancy, which at the rack is around 200. So we had about 20 people in there at a time that we were regulating. And then that number recently has changed with Delaware County's requirement of no more than 10 indoors. So what that's caused us to have to do is just be a little creative. We've had to spread out multiple sessions over multiple time frames. So for instance, right now we have pickleball up and running in there, but we've had, instead of it being in one session with about 17 to 20 folks, we've had to move it into 2 different sessions where we could thin it out so that we meet the 10 and under number, along with the leader that we have in there who's opening and closing the gym and setting up the net and everything. So we've had to get creative, but a lot of our renters, what we did was we just gave them an extra hour of time if they had to break up their groups, just, to try and just keep people active and keep folks in the facility, being safe, wearing a mask, and, getting to recreate, which, it's obviously starting to get a little cold outside. So it's, not as easy to be outdoors, although I know Radnor Youth Basketball is continuing to use Connor and Clemacrone Park for basketball on Saturdays and Sundays, which from what I understand is working out pretty well for them. So they'll be going on for another week or so. And then they'll try to make a decision as we head into January where things kind of go from there. So there's still a lot of uncertainty. So we'll really, with regards to recreation, we've been fortunate, like I said, to be able to do a lot of in-person things. We've done some on your own programs that have been really successful to keep people active, and everything's been really well received by the community.
Thanks, Tammy. And certainly it goes without saying, thank you for all the efforts. One of the cliches I've been drawing on here at the house is to try to make lemonade out of lemons, because 2020, if not some other biological matter, has dropped a big load of lemons on us, and your department has certainly created vats and vats of lemonade out of it. And thanks also to Commissioner Farhi and all the Board of Commissioners, and certainly Bill and Claire for their efforts with the Santa. I saw it whiz by my house at some point, and I think you missed, Tammy, before you got on, there was a dialogue. I think we have a lot of volunteers on this call already that are prepared to join in. So you'll have to hold us all to it next year when it comes time.
That's great.
Moving on, Board of Commissioners. We have two commissioners. I don't know if we have anything to report from BOC, either Commissioner Farhi or Enderle.
Damien, do you want to go first?
I was just going to give an update on the fact that the board last night, as you probably saw on your Facebook today or on other areas, passed the budget. I don't think that there were many surprises in it. And Sean, you can give an update from your perspective.
Yeah, it's all on the video. So for those people that care to see it and chime in on that, it's probably a board matter. I will say that for me, Parks and Rec is near and dear to my heart. But I want to just follow up on a couple things that you said, Tammy. And first of all, thank you for allowing me to be on the Santa delivery. Selfishly, like, it is always an honor to do it, and I know that it was different this year with the lunches and everything, but it is just such an honor to do that and to see these smiling faces and to help out and to, for me, Damien, it's a big deal to be on a fire truck. I only get to be on there once a year, but it is
believe it or not, it's a big deal for me to be on a fire truck. And
yeah, and it is it is an amazing piece of machinery, and watching people operate it is it's at times it's like mesmerizing. It is super cool. So thank you for that, and I know I felt like I have to say this. So and the tree lighting, I'll say I think there are probably 60 plus people there, and that was just another great night. The tree is beautiful. Rita did a great job putting it up. It just lights up Garrett Hill. We don't have much of a gateway as other parts of the township have. So seeing the sign and the tree every time I pass it at night, and especially now with the the underpass being open, I know it's Parks and Rec, but we have to at least get that going. That's important too. So if you can take Conestoga Road. If you drive by, you'll see a beautiful tree. And there is one more. And again, another great job that you did. Social distancing with the family event with the kids was that Spooktacular at the Willows. I did it with my son, Isaac. We loved it. It's just you being inventive and the ingenuity of doing things, engaging the community. And it's wonderful that you're able to do it and find new ways. And we are so lucky to have you and the department. And one more thing, which wasn't a true Parks and Rec thing, was that Chief Flanagan did that Garrett Hill block party. And again, that was just another special community event. It's probably nothing that Parks and Rec is going to take over, but it's just one more just great community event that makes us so lucky to live in Radnor. It makes me so lucky to have this position, and I'm just so thankful for you, Tammy, Bill White, and Chief Flanagan, and your staff with Lizette, Tracy, and Heather. You guys do an amazing job, and I'm leaving out our public works and our police, but it's a was a tough year, but it's a great time of year, and the township and everybody here was able to shine. So I am done talking, but it had to be said. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, commissioners. We do not have a representative from the school board here tonight, so we're passing on that one. Claire, anything from Shade Tree to report?
Gosh, where did we leave off? Because we're also, I think we missed a meeting in November. You know, it's like Groundhog Day, isn't it? Oh, I got it. Okay, so we did get our fall planting passed by the commissioners, so a little later than we had hoped. We did really work hard to get to, you know what the fall planting is for the residents, and then we half went to the WBOD area, a couple Garrett Hill, I think we got in there, and so we bid it out, I guess, and it was passed, and some are in, right, Tammy, but we're waiting for some other ones too, but we've been promised that they're going to come in December, and just like other things in 2020, it's not exactly how we had planned, but we're moving forward and hoping to at least provide 120 plus trees to the canopy. So that's pretty much it in Shade Tree.
That's great. Well, thanks a lot, Claire. I don't know if we have any other groups we've missed for reporting. I don't think we have any conventionally, but if I'm missing something, let me know. Otherwise, we can move on to Tammy and facilities updates.
Sure. Over the last couple months, a couple of the trail projects have moved ahead. The Hartford Park Trail construction actually was approved, I think, in October, and construction actually began the week of November 30th. So if you remember, that's the old dirt path trail that runs behind Radnor Corporate Center, where the easement was gained in the back there from the developer. So that one actually is underway. Construction's moving. As far as I know, as far as the schedule goes, it should be completed in January or February. And then, of course, any of the corresponding tree plantings that goes along with that I know impact Hartford Park will happen in the spring. The Radnor Tap Trail was also, it went through its bidding process, and then the bid came in, and then it was awarded. So the construction has been awarded. I'm not aware of a set timeline of when that's going to begin, but I know that's one that's going to be getting underway as well. So I'll keep you posted on those as time goes on. The Willows Park Bridge still is under construction, as I'm sure everyone is aware. I think originally it was supposed to be done by the end of the year, but I know, having driven by there the other day, it still looked like it has quite a ways to go. So I can try and get an update on that to see how that's going to impact the beginning of the year. And of course, any upcoming events and activities for the spring to see if that's going to, run too far into the new year. Obviously, that would be concerning, as things start to hopefully open back up and more activities taking place at the Willows. It's definitely a nuisance, I know, for anybody who's trying to drive in and around that area and get in and out of the Willows, but folks seem to be doing a really great job of going in the exit and out the exit and using the berm, the stone berm that we put on the side. So I've been over at the park a number of times since October, and it seems like everybody's doing really well at being able to share the road over there, although folks still seem to drive too quickly through the park, which I think has been an ongoing concern. Odoricio and Cowan Park basketball courts, we awarded design to Carroll Engineering at the end of October, the BOC meeting. So that's underway. We will hopefully be taking a look at a detailed design soon that'll end up serving as the basis of the bid that'll go out hopefully before spring, so we can award and get construction going on those courts, which desperately need it. Beauconner Park, Philippone Park, I think the last part of the projects there to round out is really just the final tree plantings and the screenings around the new mulch bin area. which is a great improvement. The one that's there now looks similar to the structure that we had installed over at Emlyn Tunnel. And then, of course, we'll figure out grand opening ceremony and all that in the future. It's hard to plan, but, hopefully next summer, 2021, we can plan that and have a really great, concert and grand reopening ceremony. At least that's the goal. A couple years late, but, it's okay. It's better late than never, I guess, right? Same way with Emlyn Tunnel. And then originally the SEPTA bridge structures that were in the process of being discussed for removal were supposed to be removed by now. It's been moved to January. I don't have a set date yet, but it's coming. I know we deferred that project because of the tunnel closure on Conestoga Road and some other work that had been going on Conestoga Road, just to avoid, more shutdowns and more traffic detours and stuff in the area over there. So we tried to get SEPTA to work with us to defer that project into January. So I know we're supposed to meet out there again this week, just to talk about the logistics and how the road closure on Garrett Avenue is going to work, and get that all situated. And then also discuss and finalize the details of the agreement for which portions of the fencing that are going to be replaced. We've been leaning really hard on SEPTA to replace more of the fencing versus less of the fencing. So we've had a great deal of conversations that have gone on in the last couple of months, and I feel pretty positive about the progress there, at least getting the fencing replaced down to where the end of the batting cage would end up being, or is right now, if the temporary one is still up. I'm not sure if it was taken down yet.
So Tammy, if I can interrupt you,
Sure.
Why do they need to close Garrett Avenue to take off that railroad bridge that's half a block away from Garrett Ave?
Sure. So the crane has to come in pieces, and the vehicle that needs to bring, I should say, the bed that needs to bring the crane in can't make the turn into the parking lot, which is hard for everybody to make the turn in the parking lot.
Neither can my car.
To a large degree, even with a vehicle. So part of it has to unload from Garrett Avenue, and it has to be brought into the parking lot. It has to be assembled. And then obviously the road can clear for whatever period that the truck and the bed can move away, but then it's got to come in and it's got to recollect the crane once it gets, disassembled, and then put back on the bed for removal. So it's quite a long process, and we're trying to have Garrett Avenue opened as much as possible versus having it closed for the entire duration, of the portion of the day for which it will take to do the removal, which I understand will have to come out in about 3 different craning segments. So it's not like it's going to crane over, grab it and pull it out and it's done. There's 3 different segments that they estimate that in stages how it's going to have to to be removed. So we're trying to.
Sorry, I can't wait to. I can't wait to share that news with the people that live on Garrett Avenue.
I'll bet. Well, SEPTA,
the bridge being closed.
Yeah, it's going to be, adding insult to injury over there. I know it's been tough with all the different road impacts that have been going on, but, I know we're trying to, do it at a time that works for SEPTA and a better time that works for us after the holidays so that we can try and manage it and get it done. And obviously before the busier spring season comes, when the park usage will be in, greater swing, of course.
Yeah, it could be worse. They could have Miller Brothers digging up your street repetitively for a year like we've had in our neighborhood. So I take a little car traffic for a few days.
No, thank you, Tammy. I know that it's an inconvenience, but it really is honoring the person whose name that park is named after. And I think that's a very important thing. I remember, he's a trailblazer, and to get that park in the shape that it deserves, I think there needs to be a little bit of sacrifice.
Agreed.
Yep, absolutely. And we are definitely holding SEPTA accountable for some of the communication with the residents, as well as being responsible for any impacts to our brand new and very expensive building that is over there on the property with the new comfort station, as well as any impacts to that bank with any type of undercutting or erosion that maybe isn't being protected or being projected rather, as a result of removing the structures from the side of, from the hillside basically. So, we're asking them that even up to a year of time for them to make some sort of repair or restabilization if that's necessary. So we're currently working through that process right now to finalize that before our date.
Tammy, doubling back to Odoricio for a moment, is that something our board will see the designs for at some point in time?
We can definitely do that. Yeah, I can show those to you. We can talk about those and discuss that. I know Howard and I met on site a couple months ago, and we just were chatting a little bit about what it would entail, just so he has an idea. I know sometimes he gets questions from the residents. But absolutely, I don't have a copy of anything yet. It's underway, but I can certainly bring that back to the Parks Board to take a look at it. So you understand the dynamic there of how some of the area where the court exists is going to change, because it will be a larger surface.
That's great. And I know that there's been some chatter. I know before COVID hit, there were some meetings and discussions about a larger eventual plan to bring Odoricio into this century as well. So it might be helpful for this board at least to see some of that and to see what potential impact it could have on future development or arraying of the space over there. But it's definitely, that is a highly used parcel of land, that basketball court.
Absolutely. And it's in dire need of being repaired too, by far beyond, any of the other courts. Obviously the other courts, a lot of them have been redone, but Odoricio is in really bad shape, and it also needs to be widened. And logistically, where the court meets the parking lot, we're going to create additional separation there because it does abut pretty closely to the parking bumpers that are right in the lot. So we want to slide it back so that there's more space there and a buffer. And I want to go as far as to make sure we have some fencing installed, like a post and rail fence along that area too, just from, the ball bouncing out or a car, kind of being there in proximity. So trying to make it safer as well. And along with, obviously bringing it up to, today's standards for boundaries and things like that should exist that aren't currently there.
Great, thank you. Go ahead, Tammy.
The only other thing I was going to mention was Fenimore is still continuing to move along right now. We're really in the process of plan refinement and working with the Delaware County Conservation District on the whole NPDES permitting process and going back and forth with that.
And the hope, I suppose, is sometime once it gets warmer again to actually put a shovel to the ground? The hope, underline hope?
I hope, yes. Hopefully, yes. We have to break ground on that project very soon. It's vital.
Is there any, in all seriousness, is there any risk of any funding disappearing? I don't know if there's any contingencies on any of the bonds that are funding that.
There's not, because we're already underway. Okay. So with the bonding company, since we're able to demonstrate that, we have a substantial portion of the project that is underway through design, I'm not aware of any jeopardy that we're in at this point with that regard. I know we're just, we're trying to work as quickly as possible. Obviously this has been one of the last ones on, I'll call it the 2015, 2016 bond list. So, we are running beyond the time frame of which, we would want to basically be started on this project. But a lot of the other projects, took some time through the process, and then we hit COVID, and then that delayed things. So, I know I'm working closely with Steve on that, and we're trying to keep it moving as fast as possible.
Can I ask a question? And this is actually for Damien, in Damien's ward. What's going on with First Responders Park? Is there anything? Have you heard anything there, or is that? I'm putting you on the spot.
Are you asking me?
No, I'm asking Tammy.
Oh, yeah. I can talk about it.
Yeah, do you mind? Because I know that.
Let's be sure that we add veterans in the beginning of that.
I'm sorry, veterans. VFW.
Yeah, they'll get very upset.
Yeah, I know, and I know that a couple of the members of the Bateman Gallagher Post 668 I spoke to, and I know it's going to be a great place. I know that they're looking at some things. Is that something that you're ready to talk about, or is that something that maybe we should hold off to the next meeting? I apologize if I know I always put people on the spot, Tammy, so I apologize.
Oh, I don't mind. No, that's
Okay.
perfectly fine. I think right now, given the size of the contribution, or I should say donation that was made to the park, which I believe was it was about $250,000 that was given by Penn Medicine. That is subject to the recent policy that was passed with regards to donations. So the board of commissioners is going to have to approve those funds for that project. And I think that there was some discussion that's still to be had with that regard. There was also a $25,000 earmark that we had from the state that was applying towards that as well. So I think what we need to do is just establish that, that's the appropriate use of those funds. And then we'll be ready to get started on the project. This board spent a long time when it was Veterans Park, meeting with the veterans group. We had meetings at the American Legion. I think we had probably nothing short of I think it was 10 to 12 meetings of planning and design work that went into, framing and designing that park, for a celebratory location for veterans. And of course, now later with our, most recent changing of the park name to Veterans and First Responders, there's some really great plans for that park, that we want to bring to fruition. But obviously it hinges on a large part of those donations to make it happen, not just some of the projects with the pavers that the American Legion is planning in addition, which I know that they're very enthusiastic to get started on that, but just kind of waiting for the green light at this point from the township.
Can I show my naivete and ask what exactly $250,000 in terms of that park just in my mind seems like an astronomical number, but perhaps I'm not fully understanding what the future plans are that both the Bateman Gallagher Post and the township and this board had in terms of that park. Was it continued build out of it? Was it refurbishment of plants? I'm just not sure exactly what it is, and I just don't have the history and the knowledge, so I'm just asking.
Sure, and I'd be happy to share the plan with you and the presentations that were made. There was a final presentation that was made at the Parks Board as well as the Board of Commissioners several years ago, but it was a celebratory plaza that would be developed at the front of the park near the area right now where the fountain sits. And then signage and an entry facade at the front part of the park as well.
Yeah.
So really the plaza, which would entail a lot of work, but I know we originally, when we designed that park, I want to say, this goes back probably 5 years at this point now, 4 or 5 years. It was actually the cost was valued at about $1 million to build it out to where it was. I think it was $900,000
to where it is now, or in terms of the future state?
Well, I think what we were thinking of doing is trying to modify it somewhat to meet the amount of money that we had, because $1 million just wasn't realistic at the time. I know our previous township manager was committed to fundraising those dollars to essentially be able to build to the design that was created. But, obviously, we don't have $1 million sitting there to, put towards it that's been earmarked. So there would have to be some sort of modification that would go into building the park for that celebratory feature. And there was also upgrades to the planning, some of the walkways, again, the entry area and the facade that runs along Lancaster Avenue. Some of that was to be changed as well.
Okay, thank
And
you.
I can share that with you.
Yeah, and then real quick, I know that the veterans, and I spoke to a couple of the veterans. They said, I don't want to harp on this too long, but they have something in Stewards, like an obelisk or something.
The
that they
township
have-
does.
The township, it's in storage or something, and that's something that they want to, as part of a gateway, as an entrance. And I think it's important that they want to fundraise for it. They don't want any of the township dollars. They are very gung ho. Maybe that's a good term. And they really want to, just to make that just something special. And then maybe later on, or I don't know what's in the budget, a playground or something like that. So, but yeah, so thank you, Tammy. I hope I didn't put you on the spot with that.
No, not at all. And I can reshare the past information that was there with this board as well as with you, Damien. So you
Okay.
have that information. So I'll
That's
send that
helpful.
out.
Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question about the Penn Medicine donation? Is that now under review with the commissioners? Is that set for a time period to review?
I know there was a policy that was recently passed with regards to donations that exceeded a certain amount. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was the $7,500.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong,
5,000.
Sean, but
Right.
but this donation was received and accepted by the township prior
Yes.
to the board passing that. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure that this 250 from Penn Medicine falls under the guise of that.
I don't believe that it does. This was, I don't think it would fall retroactively. Again, I don't want to speak for the board.
Sure.
I think it's best that we vet that through leadership and our solicitor and the manager on that.
Mhm. That sounds good.
Yeah, I don't want to, and that's beyond the scope of this. I think this is beyond the scope of this, but yeah, we'll figure that out, and Tammy can disseminate that.
Any other questions for Tammy on her report? All right, the next item is Parks and Facilities Stewards, capital budgets. Hopefully everybody received the spreadsheet with the updated park stewards that I circulated after the last meeting. Certainly if you're out and about checking out the parks and find things that are in desperate need, please flag that right away. And as we formulate now towards the next budget process, if there are things that fall into sort of a medium need or even long-term, start to think about those things as you walk around and take in the park. I assume, Tammy, I'll put you on the spot again since it seems to be the theme of the evening. In terms of the budget that was passed, anything allocated for parks?
No, there actually is no capital budget that has been allocated as part of the budget that was passed last night. But I know that's something that, we'll be working towards in future years.
I'm not sure this qualifies as new business or is at least tangentially related to this. The Presbyterian Children's Village, which sits over on Roberts Road, apparently is no longer functioning, and apparently that parcel is up for sale. It's about a 40-acre parcel. It has a gym. I don't know if anybody's thought about maybe thinking outside the box, understanding that money does not grow on trees, but there's some other townships such as the Crackover and Haverford Township, which have a nice spot for a multiple use recreation area. We have a couple BOC folks on the line. I know I just raised that as a possibility to think through or think about, or if anybody's even explored it.
I don't know the logistics, insurance, that's contracts, that is well beyond my scope, but thinking outside the box, being proactive, and Bill and just issuing that idea, I think makes sense. So yeah, I think that's it's a great idea. Definitely investigate and go through the process and maybe shake something out, because that's a lot of land. There could be basketball courts or tennis courts. So if we can use them and it makes sense, let's shake that tree and see what comes out.
Hey, Bill, did you hear that that's definitely for sale? Because I was talking to one of the board members and asked us back 3 weeks or so, but at that point they hadn't decided exactly what they were going to do over there.
And I'm getting it whispered down the lane, so your sourcing might be better on that, but there's been a lot of chatter in this neighborhood about that since it's behind us. So I don't know. You might have more recent information than I do on that.
I'll make a call and see what I can't find out because a neighbor of mine is still on the board over there. I was on the board with him over there for 10 years. So
yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to spread rumors. My understanding, it's not going to be in the function that it's going now. So if it does still become another educational or transitional facility, or it could move on to something else, it's definitely in the hands of the board what to do. But I just don't. My understanding, it's not going to be what it once was. So, again, who knows how it shakes out, but unfortunately in that, maybe there is an opportunity for the township, and that's what it should be investigated.
Yeah, that's all I was flagging it for. I mean, we've talked about certainly in conjunction with Ardrossa, just large parcels of land are hard to come by and disappearing. And certainly there's an open space component and also, township use. Understanding once again, these things all come with a price, but at least with respect to an opportunity to investigate, I think it's certainly one to investigate. But
there's certain board members, including myself, that are talking about. It's a decision. It's like a decision tree. If X happens, then we do Y, or if Y happens, then So we're waiting to hear from them, and then I think that it will become a Radnor Township an issue, especially to the neighbors as well as the township and stormwater and parks, and the list goes on and on and on.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate the indulgence of bringing the idea up in this. I figure it's a proper form to bring it up. The next topic on our list is the old business of the Willows Park and concerns with dogs in the parks. I think we had envisioned in October perhaps broadening that discussion to members of the public, but obviously that's not forthcoming. Mary, you had brought that up at our last meeting in October. Is there anything new to add or anything you wanted to bring up with that? And I certainly would open that up to the group for discussion as well.
Not a whole lot new other than just additional reports. I got a call from Tish Long, who's the president of Willows Park Preserve, which I'm on the board, I think you all know, where apparently somebody over in the park who was there for, I don't know, a wedding shoot or something like that got jumped on by dogs. The Willows Park Preserve is trying to bring 2 caterers on board to serve as the exclusive caterers for the Willows once it gets up and running into events again. And they both want requirements in their contracts about dogs, because dogs, it's gotten kind of out of control in the area of the parking lot. Well, it's gotten out of control in the park itself, but in the parking lot, it's pretty bad. It's not great on the trail. And there are dogs that are running even in around the Willows Mansion and in that area there. And I've even seen dogs in the park itself where it's clear you're not supposed to have dogs in the sort of the grassy, the pond, the sledding areas of the park. And I'm seeing dogs there not on leashes. I'm at the Willows a lot. So I have a theory. I've been able to prove it because I haven't been following people in their cars as they go home. I have a feeling that because our rules about dogs in the parks, or at least in that area, are less restrictive than in the adjacent townships, that it's drawing in people from all over the place. So that's about all I have to add, but I do want to point out that the Willows Park Preserve is seeing it as a real problem for them being able to get caterers to sign on to do events at the Willows to raise revenues for the Willows. So it complicates their situation. Tammy, I know that you had commented when you were over there for, might have been the Spooktacular, might have been something else, that you were sort of surprised at the dog issue.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to talk about it much in October because I was moving between locations as we were having the meeting. I had spent a lot of time over there recently as we were planning for that event, and I've also had a couple of Scout Eagle Project meetings that have taken place on the trails over the last couple months. And I mean, I definitely believe that there are more people on the trails with dogs than there are people just on the trails. I mean, it's inevitable that it's definitely a highly attractable location for people to let their dogs run off leash. I was just over there with a Scout actually It was Friday afternoon, I believe. And I'm going to be heading over there again tomorrow with Steve Norsini and Rick Foster. And I know that I will encounter dogs. It's a very popular place for dogs off leash. So, I mean, from an issue standpoint, I'm just giving you my own anecdotal information, in the times that I'm there, like I've seen issues and problems. I would say the biggest issue that I see as well, in addition to everything that you're saying, Mary, is that the dogs defecate all over the trail.
Oh.
They're far from their owners because their owner is either jogging or walking, and the dogs are just so far that the owner's not even seeing that occur, and then it's just left there. We saw that happen twice just on the day of the spectacular event that we had, and and then also there's people leaving the bags, their poop bags all over the place.
That just blows my mind. Like, what are people thinking? I mean, they go to the trouble of scooping it up and putting the plastic bag, they tie it in a knot, and then they throw it on the path. Like, are they expecting the township to come into the park and collect it? There's a good bit of totally responsible behavior there. And some of the dogs are absolutely adorable and lovely and so happy. But there's a high level of bad behavior going on there. And again, given the comparison of the strictness of Radnor Township to the surrounding townships, I guess we shouldn't be that surprised. It's pretty liberal back there, and particularly bad in the parking area where the dogs are just running loose completely in a less confined area, and there's cars and traffic and kids, and it's kind of chaotic.
Do we think that it's possible that when a year from now, hopefully we're through all this COVID stuff and people go back to work, that we might settle back down a little bit with this dog thing and things might get back to normal? People have a lot more time on their hands and are out walking a lot more. And it certainly sounds like it's a big problem. I got a couple dogs, but I typically walk around the block. I don't take them off the trails and let them off leash, et cetera. But maybe it's a problem that will get better as we all hopefully get back to more normal lives.
Don't know. Good question, Chris. Don't know. But it's pretty bad right now. And again, I love dogs. I'm not scared of dogs. Dogs are fine. And whatever it is, the 80 to 85, 90 maybe even % of people are pretty good. I mean, even with some of them, their dogs may not be on a leash, but they're these old dogs, kind of like barely making it on the trail. But when you have a badly behaved dog, a really badly behaved dog, it can be a real problem. The dogs, jump on. I've been jumped on so many times. I've been rushed by German Shepherds. I've seen dogs fight with other dogs and injure other dogs. And again, putting on a different hat and putting on the Willows Park Preserve, it's going to be really tough if we resume having weddings and birthday parties and other things there, and there are dogs just running all around the area, jumping on people. The caterers have told us they don't want to sign on if they're going to have dog problems.
I can speak to the spectacular. I was with a 5-year-old and a Whistler. I think that's how you pronounce them. Pretty much came up, started sniffing. It's
I know that dog.
It's unwanted. It's an issue. They should not be. I know it's not my ward. I live in Garrett Hill where everything is closer. But if you shouldn't have your dog off a leash. If you want to have a fenced-in area where they can run free, up in the north, maybe in the southern part or up that hill in the parking lot, and I'm just throwing an area out where it's fenced in, that's one thing. But if they are, as soon as you park the car, they need to be on a leash, because if they run into a parking lot, they're going to get hit. So if there's a gated area and they want to run free, that's fine. But I will say that I do feel the WPP's concerned. You're going to have noise, you're going to have feces, you're going to have jumping, there could be food, people that don't know where they're going because it's a wedding somewhere and they get out in a suit and they get paw prints on them. So yeah, I think that's definitely something that needs to be brought up with this board, as well as maybe the Board of Conditioners in conjunction with the WPP, because it's we're putting a lot of money in there. I know that Tish Long and her crew. They're putting a lot of time into it, and for and if someone's going to spend 50, 100,000 on an event, you can't have dogs barking and jumping and feces laying around.
So I don't know, what's the next step, guys?
I can bring it up. I can bring it up with the board. I'll bring it up at the board at the next meeting. Or Damien, one of us can.
I'm happy to bring it up. I'm just, what's the enforcement measure, I guess? Are we looking for more police?
I think probably my recommendation, well, I mean, so, there's what you wish you could do, and then realistically what you probably can do.
Yeah, it's kind of like the COVID
revisit
tent in Wayne. There's a difference between what we wish for and what we can really do, right?
Yeah, we've all gotten used to that. I think probably the first thing to think, everybody jump in here, please, but I'm thinking the first thing we probably need to do is, again, take a look at my report that I did last month, but on dogs in the parks, but probably need to tighten up our ordinances on dogs, on leashes. And then, yes, if we could have more enforcement, that would be great. Whether we have the resources for that, I don't know. I sometimes think that just having the requirement on the books will help with people who tend to comply with ordinances and laws. They will say, oh, okay, I didn't know, and they will be better, and there will be some improvement. There will always be, having been in environmental law enforcement for 35 years, there will always be non-compliers, but if there's at least some level of periodic enforcement where the word gets out, like, every now and then there's the cop around the curve that actually does get you for going through the stop sign. Maybe there's some compliance.
We have a township information officer. This should be a communications thing first.
Yeah, I think people, certainly people, are entitled to know what the rules are. If the rules change, okay, they need to know that, and they.
No, I think it should be a communications thing at the top.
Yeah, well,
we can back that up with increased enforcement. You're an environmental lawyer, you know better than I, but my feeling is nobody's reading rules and regulations.
Oh, and on that note, Damien, we need better signage, better posting, that sort of thing. I mean, right now, whatever signing there is accurate. It says have your dog under your control.
I together with Sean will bring this up. I think it starts with our communications officer. That's what we're paying her for, is to help out with things like this. So,
and Mary, I remember from your presentation a couple of things that I really liked. One was one of the townships required you to permit your dog to go, get it permitted to take into the parks, so that could control a little bit how many dogs are out there in the parks. One, two, we can only give permits to people who live in a township.
Yeah.
And that would solve that problem a little bit.
Okay.
And I think the third thing was to have limited hours. Like if you're going to have dogs in parks, you could take your dog until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then after 2 o'clock, whatever it might be, there's some ways we can do some of those things.
Those are all great ideas. I like all of them.
You can be a little more limited, rather than sort of some gross requirement that kind of is, it paints with too broad a brush.
Sure.
There were a lot of really good ideas that have already been developed by our surrounding townships. There were clearly some very thoughtful, it takes more words, but when you read through them, they're very thoughtfully crafted, very sort of narrowly crafted requirements that make sense and try to accommodate everybody's needs, including the dog owners and the dog walkers.
Yep.
Yeah. So what I was going to say, Mary, is let's bring this up at the Board of Commissioners meeting. We got a lot of smart people on this chat. We got a lot of smart people on the board, plus Bill White, plus you, Tammy. You've seen this. I know our township manager has as well. I think we're brainstorming now. We'll get some great ideas, signage, information, making people aware of it. It's a great place to start, and I think that we can, all work together, including with the WPP, and come up with some good ideas that can hopefully, hopefully we can find a compromise and everyone can, these people want to get outside and it's a beautiful area,
absolutely.
But they need to show respect for the property, to the township, as well as to people that have rented that facility. So,
Sean and Damien, do you both have the PowerPoint that I did on the dogs, the parks, and the other townships ordinances?
No.
I'll make sure.
Yeah, can't you? If you
I'll
can
make sure
shoot
you
it
get
to us?
it. You can share
Yeah,
it.
or shoot it to, you know what, maybe it's best to shoot it to all the commissioners.
Okay, I can do that.
Yep, and then that's something that can be brought up at the next.
I'll do that.
Awesome.
Okay.
I
Thank
have
you.
something to add to Damien and Sean, if as you bring it up to the commissioners, is we may want to solicit some residents who are diehard Willows people to kind of get on board with it. I think they'd want to, but I know of many residents who use it daily with their dog, and I think they'd be open to it. But I think if we consider them, they could get on board and help with the whole idea about it, rather than just having it be like an automatic policing. I mean, I know I go there with my dog, and we get leashed to the trail, and then he gets to run, and he loves it. So, but I do think that some of these changes need to be made. But I think it would really be helpful to our township if we can get some residents on board as well.
Claire, it's
a good
very
point.
well stated. Unless we have the buy-in from the park users that use it most, and they disseminate it, and it's partially their idea, and they understand how it works, and they're the stewards as well, and they want to keep using it, and they pass that down. I think that's important. So that's a very well said. Very well
Yeah,
said.
good point, Claire. Thank you.
Anybody else with anything on dogs? It seems to make sense. Tammy, we'll put this on our agenda for next time as well. Just keep this as a thread going to have the dialogue back and forth. Obviously, the end solution, other than spreading the word and some communications that this board can do, is going to have to come from other sources, but we can certainly facilitate the ideas and keeping an eye on the projects or the project with the development of policies that are friendly for all.
Yeah, and our department had developed some communications on this issue over the years that we've put out on our website. We've put out through our recreation brochures when those were going out more routinely. That's something that, I can definitely get with Molly on, who is our PIO, and see if we can start to ramp that up a little bit more, and bring that to life a little bit more. And, maybe, down the road, if it's, trying to get the users on board, maybe there's something that as like different staff members are out there, like there's times when the park staff is out there, I'm out there, maybe there's something that we can share with folks and hand to them, to try to like bring them up to speed on this issue, or, give them information, whether it's, something suggesting what a change in policy would be, or just something to try and, sort of, I don't want to say solicit them, but to provide them with information, because really out there, it's the communication with the folks in the trenches. When you see the folks who are routine users and having those conversations with them, I think that's really important to, I don't want to call it policing it, because I can't really see us putting, police officer out there, on a routine basis. That's just not going to happen. But maybe in increments, something like that's possible, or something, like I said, just on behalf of some of our staff members, to distribute.
That'd be great. I think at some level, the issues remind me of the discussions we had on smoking in the parks. At the end of the day, the primary enforcement is just going to be public awareness, some social pressure perhaps, and understanding what the mores are.
Right. Right.
It's not to dismiss the other ideas, which I think are also important as well. But at the end of the day, those are the trenches. It's what are you going to do with somebody smoking a cigarette or doing things with a dog that aren't suitable?
Sure, it's out there communicating with people. I mean, I do think it's important to have, a piece of press and information go out on this, but I'm willing to bet a lot of those folks are non-residents too. And they may not be paying attention to the township, e-blasts and email and all that other stuff that goes out. So I think some of it is going to be done kind of in the rough as well.
Amy, are there any Eagle Scouts looking for a project? I just thought about perhaps we have Eagle Scouts. One of their projects would be them taking surveys over the course of, say, 2 weekends, where very friendly walk up and say, would you like to care? Just a simple, maybe 10 question, not even that. Do you live in the township, and what are your thoughts on, just as a, an idea to get feedback from people who use the park all the time. The most efficient way to do it.
It's something that we can definitely suggest. Our Eagle Scouts tend to like to build stuff. At least I know the last two I know that I met with are interested in building a retaining wall in a portion of the trail to keep people on the switchback, if you know where I'm talking about, where you kind of walk around and you see paper mill roads. So, but having them out there too is it could be a great way to do something like that too, to gain information.
All right. Anybody else with some old business they want to bring up before we start heading towards the end here? All right. Anybody with any new business that they wanted to, or new issues they wanted to raise while we're here? All right. I have an item which really isn't new business, but it's just a function of the calendar. It is December, which means officially we have leadership reformation or whatever you want to call it that has to occur in January. As seems to be custom for those that sit in leadership, whether it be Chris or Andy Santilla before. I'll make the same pronouncements that have been made all the years I've been on the board. That is, I'm happy to continue to serve in some capacity. I'm also happy to step aside if folks have an interest in wanting to get involved more deeply in leadership on this. We don't need to solicit that now, but certainly something to think about. I think as we approach the January meeting, perhaps if we're presuming we're still going to be in this kind of a platform, we can perhaps set up a separate Zoom call to take the place of the private caucus we historically have done before that meeting going forward. But certainly, if people want to reach out to Mary or me to talk about it, or let us know you're interested, or we can continue on. I take no possessory interest in the right to talk more than other people at the meeting.
I totally agree with you, Bill. Yes.
No, you've done a great job, Bill. Thank you for the leadership, and these are interesting times, and you too, Tammy. We've all made it work with Zoom, so thank you. I'll speak for the board. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're not kidding, Bill. All right. I assume, Tammy, there is no public participation that has found its way to us?
No, but it's also a question for Ian. I have my email up. I don't see anything. Ian, I don't know if he's received anything. He probably would forward it to me, so.
I have not received anything, Tim.
Oh, hi, Ian.
Hello.
Thank you, Ian.
Thanks, Ian.
The man
Welcome.
behind the door.
All right. Well, unless anybody has anything else, we'll take a motion to adjourn and head into the night. Okay. There's one. I think I heard second in there too. All in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed, it doesn't matter.
Good night, everybody. Happy
Bye.
holidays.
Have a great
Happy holidays, everybody. Thanks
Happy
again for joining.
holidays.
Stay safe out there.